Hello, everyone. You're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. I know the power of vibrational healing by combining physics and ancient healing arts to develop a system that has amplified results with thousands of my clients and healing students. When you are ready to be able to transform your life and the lives of others, go to scientifichealer.com/energize me to discover more about my program for helping healers and coaches thrive and grow their business. I invite you into a conversation right now at scientifichealer.com/appointment to talk about you having more energy while growing your healing or coaching practice. So this week, you're going to hear about people that never knew they could heal or work with energy and how it transformed not only their lives, but the lives of the people around them. And the reason why I'm doing that is I get this question very often, like, who can be a healer? And I've simply answered it over and over again. Well, if you have a live body, you can be a healer. When this comes to mind, when I think about it, is all about empowerment. And you may have heard people say over and over again, you can create whatever you want to in life, that you're an infinite being of light, that you have no limits and things like that. But yet, in our everyday lives, we seem to limit ourselves. Like we get stuck with the doctor saying there's nothing more we can do. And then your mind goes, oh, there's nothing more that can be done because this doctor that has gone to medical school has told you that. So today in this conversation, my fabulous co-host, Gwen Lepard, is here. Hi, Gwen.
Hey there, Anastasia. Great to be here. This is a topic that I'm very excited about, and we all are healers. I remember saying to a boyfriend's mother who was an RN, that our bodies have the ability to heal themselves, and she's like, "Oh no, they don't." And I was like, "You're a nurse, and you don't think a body can heal? You cut yourself, it bleeds, it starts sealing up, and it heals." "Oh yeah, well that's different," she says. I was so confused.
Yeah, and that's like really true that that people think that you can't heal, but you can. And we've seen it over and over again, even in really drastic cases where people were at death's door. And there's a famous case of a Greek who got told he had inoperable lung cancer and that he should just go back home, just to retire and, enjoy whatever he has left of his life. So he thought, and he was from this island called Icaria, where they live a very long time. And so he said, well, if I'm going to die soon, I may as well go back home to Icaria and enjoy all of my childhood friends and my relatives and be with them. And so every day he would meet with people, and, Greeks are very huggy, kissy, generous, like they're, especially if you grew up with them. And, and so, after 3 months passed, he goes, I'm supposed to be dead now. That's really interesting. And after 6 months, he's scratching his head going, gee, I feel way better. And after a year, he's going, he's able to walk up and down the hills and, on the island. And and so then when he went to the doctor, they couldn't find any signs of the lung cancer.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
because, right? And that's because he went back into an environment in which he was thriving. He was eating clean food. He was with people that loved him, and he
And
was with
clean air.
clean air and, no electronic noise, right? Because, I mean, just walking down the street here, I was checking on my cell phone just to see how many Wi-Fis are in any one location. And I can be on some streets and get like 12 Wi-Fis on my phone.
Yeah, and all of that's bombarding you.
And it's all bombarding.
Yeah.
And I've got in the habit of putting my phone in airplane mode at night. So at least the phone's not sitting there looking for signal,
Yeah.
and creating a disturbance.
And
And
that'll save your battery too.
Yeah, that I don't care about.
You don't care about that part. For those that
This
do.
is this battery, I want to
This
say.
battery, oh, absolutely. Yes.
And so, the point of that story is that so many people think they're really stuck if they've been given a quote unquote death sentence,
Yeah.
right? They think they're really stuck and can't do anything. Oh, they found this disease in me. And so, by switching everything up, this particular man actually healed himself, because he said, well, if I only have 3 months, I may as well really enjoy what I've got left in my life. And so he just left his industrial work life behind, and went back to remembering how wonderful it was in childhood and being on this Greek island, right? So, and that sometimes is all it needs to take, is
Yeah.
just the commitment, saying, I don't need to do the old stuff. It made me sick, so let me go and enjoy what I've got.
Yeah. And relationships too, as you say, they are the foundation of our health, of our wealth, of our happiness, of how we interact with the world. And if you don't, and he went back to relationships and all of that love and caring and support. Absolutely. That was part of his healing.
Yes, exactly. So, you know, the one thing that I tell people, if you have a living, breathing body, you can heal, right?
Right.
You can manipulate energy, and we do it all the time, and we're not even aware of it. So one example is, if you've ever walked in a room where somebody is really angry, and after a while you start to feel uncomfortable, well, you are absorbing the vibes of that person. And we know this from science, that the heart radiates out emotions up to 25 feet, as far as we know. I think it's further.
Oh yeah. I say 30. I think it's further than that.
Oh, I think because, I said, when I would call my mom and I was living in Germany, and she would say something that really upset me, I'm going, oh, look, emotions transmitted, you know,
All the way around the world.
8,000 miles away, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Or 10,000, I don't know how far it is,
Well,
but
then,
it's quite
yeah, the
far.
heart's the early warning system too. So yeah, it can definitely, it's definitely further out than 30 feet. It's just that that's all they've been able to test at this point. So yeah, kind of a sidebar there. You were going to tell a story.
Yeah, so, right. So, you know, um, I didn't really understand. I sensed the flow of energy fairly early in life, and I recognized that I could hear other people's thoughts
Oh,
sometimes. Like,
wow.
it would be sporadic, and I would also be able to sense other people's feelings. Like, if somebody was upset or they hurt themselves, it felt like a wave coming at me and banging
Wow.
me, right?
Wow.
And if they were angry, I'd walk in the room and I'd go, are you okay? And they go, what? I said, oh, well, it seems like you're upset about something. I'm not mad.
Yeah, I had that experience too. I just didn't realize that I was picking up on their energy.
I know, and they're telling me they're not mad. I'm going, okay.
Yeah, I just don't want to be found out that I'm mad.
Yeah, so you were also, I didn't find out that I could actually change the flow of energy overtly until I was in my 40s.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
And I met you after that. I um I was moving energy as a dancer, and I studied massage. I like, did cranial sacral work, and that's very energetic and subtle. But to me, the energy was all attached to the body. I wasn't thinking about it being way out from the body. But when I would dance, I could create these vortexes of energy, and I would send them out to the room, trying to, help everybody have a good time. So I was playing with energy, but I didn't. It wasn't until I met you and that science and the confidence that you had behind yourself because of the science behind it and the structure that you bring that I really started. Calling it energy medicine and really started being able to make a difference in the people around me and the animals and all of that.
Right. And so changing the flow of energy, you can divert it, you can change its frequency and its quality. Like, when somebody is receiving it, you can stop the flow if you don't want it. Um, and you can really help raise other people's frequency by diverting, high frequency energy at them, or healing energy. And so these are, and it's simple to do, but the human is very complex, and so are animals. By the way, animals have very similar energy systems in their bodies. They have all the same chakras, they have all, or energy portals. They have lines of energy running up and down their bodies. I mean, even snakes and slugs and things like that. But mammals, they have a central nervous system and a spinal cord, and everything works off of it, and they all have energy fields. So animals, even though they don't have the brain power we do, they have, and they don't have, what I say, they don't have agendas like humans do,
Right.
right? They just want to be, and they don't want to be hurt, and they want to be healthy, and they need to eat, and things like that. And most animals aren't mean, even the quote unquote killers. Like, right now we have a coyote epidemic in the local neighborhood, and they're not mean, they just want to eat, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And there's stories about animals that are actually healers, like the dog that could sense cancer in women when they, he walk up to them. Or, they have stories about cats that come and sit, lay on hospital beds to help heal people, or they know when they're passing. So animals are really more complex than we know.
Yes, I think so. And it's the same. There's also dogs that can smell diabetes on people,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
So they can smell the blood sugar change, and a lot of them are trained to notify the owner, "Hey, you need insulin."
Oh, that's great. I like that.
Yeah. So they, some of the things I want to talk about today are, first of all, people in all walks of life that I have run across. I've done, they've been in my classes, or they're currently in a class or a training program for them to learn. Not everybody knows the system the way I teach it, and some of it's repeat, but a lot of it is like this subtle thing, because it's not just knowing how to do it, but it's what you're thinking and how you approach it.
Absolutely.
Right. And one of the approaches that I always do is that I keep asking the other person's body, because it talks to me. I keep asking the other person's body, what is it that it needs right now at the moment? Because there's a sequence to things. Right. And this is a very teachable, it's very systematic, it's very teachable. And we have people that have only worked in offices, have never done healing. We have people that have, we have one that's a horse trainer at the moment. And she always knew that she could heal, and now she's healing horses that have been traumatized by abuse, either starvation or whipping, and now they're turning into wonderful healing animals for small children, and so on. And we have people that never expected to be able to heal. And one particular case, I mentioned her in the Facebook Live that I just did, and it's now a little snippet on YouTube. And when I first met her, this has been about 3 years now. When I first met her, she was going through some sort of trauma, and couldn't really express herself. And she was confused, and you'd talk to her and she'd space out. And I knew by conversations I had with her when she was calm, and I seem to calm people down when I talk to them, and when she was calm, and I knew that there was a lot going on in there. And so she joined a healing class. So it was a 13-session healing class, a group healing class. And normally it's like a fraction of the price than if you were to have engaged me for the 3-month period. And about halfway through, she came back to life. It's like her brain was asleep, like she had gone through some sort of PTSD. And PTSD, it's like there's a veil over you and you can't really see out, and you're, emotionally a bit numb and things like that. And it was like all of a sudden she came back to life. And so she's an office worker. She's worked in an office. I think it's a food company, and she's been working in this business for a very long time, 25, 30 years, and never anticipated that she would be able to heal. She always felt like she was subject to whoever was her boss or her direct supervisor. And so we did, in our program, we were right in the middle of learning how to heal relationships and clearing out all the energy. So everyone has energy between you and another person. Like Gwen and I have energy between the two of us, my husband and I, my dad and I, my daughter and I, my grandson and I. And, it's good to keep that space nice and clear. And there are ways to do it. But in her case, she had this boss that was always picking on either her or another woman. And when it was her turn, he would yell at her, belittle her, criticize everything she did. She felt really miserable, and she felt like she just wanted to quit. And she didn't really want to quit because she had been in this position for a long time and wanted to continue. So this person was dictating what she was going to end up doing. So she did a relationship healing, and the next time she came to class, because this is an intimate class where we all chat with one another, and it's all live and in person, and via computer, because we have people all over the world in the class. And so she came back, and her eyes were like big like saucers, and she goes, I did a relationship healing on my boss, and oh my God, the next day I came in and he greeted me and said, was very friendly and was even complimentary, and I don't know what happened. That's just like the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And it kept continuing. Right. So, so that was somebody who it just never even crossed their horizon that there was such a thing as doing energy healing. and yet by just following a simple set of protocols and also doing energy hygiene every day, which we all should be doing, right, Gwen?
Right. Yeah, boy, it makes a difference.
Yeah, I know. I get up, and if I haven't done it in the first 5 minutes of arising, my body is going, whoa, you better go do it.
Yeah.
So one of those things, just as a hint, is to straighten your body out to help the flow of energy up and down. If you're sitting all twisted and bent over, it hinders the flow. So by sitting up or standing up straight and taking some nice deep breaths, breathing all the way down into, basically breathing down past your belly button. And the way you do that is, I know your lungs stop here at the sternum, but breathing down into your belly button is that you engage your lower body into the breathing by pushing out on your belly, right? So just by doing that will help. And planting your feet on the floor, like I'm here, I'm grounded. Yeah. That simple action right there. And what happens is most people don't take the time. They're just all in their...
Not just the time. It's not just the time. I mean, society, especially for us women, the guys have to have the 6-pack abs. The women, have to be slender. And so a lot of women hold their breath. They hold their belly in. Mm-hmm. And they're breathing from way up here because they don't want to be seen that they have a belly.
That's a really good point.
And everything's getting locked up in your lower abdomen, and that's where your health is in your physical body.
Yes, there's your immune system is centered in your lower abdomen. Your microbiome that helps create all of many of the vitamins, many of the, I want to call it, like your melatonin, your serotonin, many of your uh, neuroactive dopamine, things like that, that you need to feel good. They're produced in the gut.
Yeah, and if you're holding it in and locking it all out, I mean, it's a recipe for anxiety and, illness.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the other thing that people don't realize is that we don't usually allow the energy to cross past our heart, so it stops up here. And what I find, so when I'm reading people and I'm looking at their energy, what I find is that they're not occupying their lower body; they're only up here around their head.
Yep.
That's why people get headaches. That's why they get lower back aches, why they get knee aches, why their hips hurt, their bones start to deteriorate. They have, sciatica, those kinds of things. And just by taking that deep breath and breathing all the way down to your toes, imagining the air or the light going down, that's like a really simple step. And
It is.
everyone can do it.
Yes, if you have lungs, you can do this. Lungs in a body.
Right. And
Yes.
and I know that, yeah, this is like, so the healing, like the scratching that we were mentioning earlier, it happens, but we also have a lot of emotional things that happen to us, and sometimes it can take a really long time to heal. I've had clients whose like parent died like 20 years ago and they still weren't over it.
Yeah.
And the thing is that our parent did not give birth to us for us to be miserable after they pass, right? And so now medical science has no answer for somebody like that. They really don't.
True.
You can go to a psychologist and talk it out, but you can still not be over it.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And
The more you talk it, the more you create it.
yes, exactly.
There is a place for it. Absolutely.
There is a place for it, especially on recognition. Oh, I'm doing that. Oh, yes, I recognize myself. And then it's time to let it go. Right? It's just time to let it go. And so some people call energy healing a gift. I just think that everybody has the gift.
Absolutely.
And so can you imagine if you could feel really good in a particular day, that you could keep regenerating that good feeling? And that doesn't mean that you're going through life going, unicorns and rainbows all the time.
No. Yeah, if you ignore the shadow, it will come and bite you. Yes, you can choose to have that, but
right, and
you all well rounded.
Even Jesus got angry.
True.
He would yell at people when he was angry with them. Right. So it's not like you are going to sit there and turn the other cheek all the time. Right. It's not that. And, we also know things like another way to energy heal is to pray for them. And there are now, it's been proven in science that prayer helps. Now there's prayer circles set up in many hospitals and cities across the country. When somebody is ill, you send a note and ask for them to be included in a prayer. Also praying for someone who has passed, that also lights their spirit up on the other side. So just sending a prayer, a thought, a good thought to somebody makes a big difference. So you're doing a lot of energy healing, whether you realize it or not.
Yeah, oftentimes you see on Facebook people are saying my father is in the hospital and please send prayers, and people do, they by the hundreds respond, and that's got to be helpful. But a lot of people think that energy healing is just quackery, and especially that's the people that practice the conventional medicine. And I was in Fiji recently, and one of the things that was shared is that in ancient Egyptian times, the energy healer was in the room with the surgeon, and they worked together to heal.
Mhm.
The surgeon would be doing the physical part, the energy healer would be doing the energy part, and it was common practice. That was, if you were going to have a surgery, you had an energy healer in the room. And I know that this is one of the things that you're working on creating by teaching these people that are just, like you said, somebody that worked in an office. How to
Yeah, or a nurse, even better, or a doctor would be even
Yes,
better. But
yes, absolutely.
we have a nurse in the class, and she comes back with, she learned an alternative modality. She just got her doctorate in it. And now she's coming back and she's saying, I just did not know that I had the ability to do this. And she had a lady who had suffered 9 months of nausea from being pregnant,
Oh,
right? So morning sickness for 9 months. And so she walked in the room and she did some very simple protocols that I teach in the beginning of the class. Very, very simple. Straightened her energy out, got it flowing correctly, and the woman sat up and was shocked. She goes, "What? I'm not nauseated, and I haven't had any of the medication." And she was like really confused, like, how can I not be nauseated? I've been nauseated for 9 months. And when I was in the hospital in Germany, I had a lady in the room that was just like that. This was
wow.
before I was doing energy healing. This was in 1999, and I was in there for my own reasons, but she was nauseated the whole time, and she couldn't keep food down, and she just kept losing weight and weight and weight, and it's not healthy for mother or baby.
No.
And it turns out that energy healing did the job, right? And when my daughter gave birth, I was in the room doing healing on her, doing hypnosis, leading her through the labor pains, which were very long and very painful. And this hospital is a major hospital, Harbor UCLA nearby, very major teaching hospital, especially. And and they called her the no epidural lady because she was the only one for months that didn't take an epidural to give birth without any medications flooding into the baby,
Wow.
right? So
Yeah.
so I think, and this is a case where you have the medical team and you have a healer available. It makes all the difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And how are we going to create that? I know that you've done some talking. I know that there's
Mhm.
other healers out there that have assisted medical doctors, and medical doctors have said, I don't know what you're doing. They weren't getting better before, but whatever you're doing, keep doing it. So how do we create more of that
Well,
around the
I
world?
think, okay, so here's kind of my thinking about that. First of all, I need to talk more. I have a talk that I gave at Harvard that I still need to put up on my website, and talk about how doctors and other medical professionals need to understand a little more about energy healing. First experience it, then try it, then understand how it actually works and how it fits in the body and all the scientific evidence. And that we need to also bring healers into this century too, to get them to understand and not talk a language that the average person doesn't get.
Yeah, that's too
Because
woo, or saying, oh, the energy knows where to go. I mean, because your system, it's really specific, and you're using the body systems to do that.
yes, and I also teach healers anatomy. We're going to get to that. We learn anatomy, we learn a little biochemistry. We, get down into real language with real results. Like a lot of my clients have gone back and gotten their blood tests, and their blood tests shift dramatically. I had one where he took his blood sugar every day, and after one session it dropped 50 points, and he didn't do anything different, and he hadn't been able to get it down that far for a long time.
Yeah,
So it just one session dropped 50 points. So what is that? Did I do anything? No, I was on the phone fixing his energy, right?
Yep.
And yes, I do it on the phone.
Yes, it's worldwide or on Zoom.
Or on Zoom or on Skype or however people want to connect with me, right?
Yeah.
So
I was just going to say that, it's considered miraculous.
it is, but it's really science.
Yeah, you were telling me about someone who had a sales force. Do you want to share that story now?
Yes. So here's how simple this can be. So one of my clients had a team of salespeople, and they got on the phone all day long. And so, companies would hire her to do their selling for them. So, and these were all warm leads, right? So, you go to an event and you collect a whole bunch of leads, and then you sit there and you dial the phone to, work with these particular clients. And she would come home at the end of a day, they'd work like 9 to 6. She'd come home at the end of the day completely wiped out. Like she didn't want to talk to another human being. She would just lay flat. And I told her one simple trick that what people don't understand is, like, when you and I are having our conversation, we're exchanging energy here, right? Mm-hmm. And whenever you have a conversation with somebody, you're exchanging energy. And if the other person that you're talking to has a needy energy, they're pulling it from you, right? Yep. They're pulling it out of you. So I explained this to her, and I said, the thing that you need to do after the end of every phone call is, first of all, you need to sever the connection, like energetically sever. So I just told her, cut the cords, and also make sure you don't forget the back. You pull those forward and you grab them and you just cut the cord and you drop them all the way into the earth, deep into the earth. And then the next thing you want to do is pull all your energy back and give the energy that you got from the other person, give them that energy back. So I just go like this to symbolize it, but what I'm doing. And it's a simple process. And as soon as I told her to do that, she called me a week later and she goes, "Oh my word, I can't believe I'm like feeling great at the end of the day, and I don't feel like I'm just been swamped with all these needy people that are like trying to pull me apart with all this energy." So this is a case of a sensitive person learning one little trick that completely transforms her life. And then she wanted to learn more, so she took a class with me and learned more. But that it can be just one simple thing like that changes your life, which is like that little healing audio that I have. It does all the energy hygiene for you.
It's so awesome. You can just put it on as you're falling asleep and you wake up clean.
Yeah, you go to my website, scientifichealer.com, and download it. So let's take a little bitty break, and we'll come back with a couple more stories and then how to get involved. So I want to remind all of our listeners, you're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. Today my guest host is Gwen, and the topic is about how everyone can heal. When we return after the break, we'll dive deeper into scientific healing and how it can work for you. You can actually do simple physical manipulations on yourself to change your mental, emotional state, release blocks, and even release things like pain in your body. And of course, the backup to all of these techniques, the backup is to work out also the spiritual, the emotional, the mental, and then relieve the physical. I have a process that does that. We go through one step at a time and clean up all of, so whatever condition that you have, whether it's mental, emotional, spiritual, or physical, whatever condition that you have, especially if it manifested in the physical, was usually years in the making. You didn't get it overnight, years in the making. One of the ways that I work is I find out when something got manifested in your body, like go back to that year, and then rewrite the story, uncreate the story, redo the story. So it's as if it never happened. It's as if you imagine your life as a tree, and here you are at birth, and each decision that you make will create a different branch, right? So you have all these branches of possibilities, and you're ending up somewhere along the branch. And by doing energy work, it's as if you did not make that decision, and instead you made a different decision, and you end up on another branch. So that's the way I view energy healing with regards to whatever your life is now. And the great thing is that we are infinite beings of light, powerful beings of light, and we can change our history, and we can rewrite things, and we can create whatever life we want. And I'm ready to have a conversation with you if that's what you'd like to have in your life. Either learn it for yourself or to have me help you with it. So I have my contact information is scientifichealer.com/contact or scientifichealer.com/appointment. So you can either write me or have a conversation with me, and I always answer whatever queries come through. And I do it personally because I'm very interested in hearing what you would like to hear. Welcome back. You're listening to Scientific Healing with Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. If you are a healer or coach, you can discover which is the one thing you should pay attention to first to raise your frequency to get to the next level. Go to scientifichealer.com/action and download the action guide for discovering your biggest challenge to success. Before the break, we were talking with my guest host, Gwen Lepard, about how many entrepreneurs in non-healing careers are really doing energy healing, and also just people in ordinary lives. And some of them even have characteristics in common. So let's continue this conversation. Welcome back, Gwen.
Oh, thank you so much. You know, before the break, you were sharing about the woman with the Salesforce, and this just super simple little technique. You make it sound so easy, but people really like to complicate it.
Yeah, it's way more complicated. And then they get upset because, they're on this and wow, that was a really needy client. And then it lowers your energy because that person is now controlling you. Right? So what we
Absolutely.
want to do is take control back and, release them, give them back their energy, reclaim yours, and fill yourself back up.
Fabulous.
And get up, walk around, take some deep breaths, sip some water, and get them out of you. Right?
Yeah.
Because, and even when you're in the midst of an argument with somebody, you can just sit under the table and just cut the cords, especially across your solar plexus where we get a lot of stress coming in. It's right around the adrenal glands that also put out the adrenaline and the cortisol and, norepinephrine and things like that. And you just cut the cords while they're talking, especially if they're saying something that's upset.
So you have other stories of people that didn't know they could heal and try it on different things, correct?
Yes. There are a lot of people that, I've seen many stories. In fact, when I was doing more private teaching, the student would say to me, "I don't even know that I'm doing anything. I don't even know I'm doing anything." I said, "Well, why don't you just send me some energy and don't tell me where you're sending it, and I'll let you know if I feel something." And this one was just an office worker. She had the reason why she called me is she had a scientist boyfriend, so she liked the idea that I am a scientist too. And I started to feel my right knee warm up, and I said, "So why are you sending it down to my right knee?" And she starts laughing and she goes, "Yeah, that's exactly where I'm sending it." So everybody has the ability to bring energy, healing energy into another person. Everybody. I have never run across anybody that can't do it, number one. And number two, I have never seen it not work. And the way that it some people say, well, it's just not working for me, is that it's a self-fulfilling kind of thing. Right?
Right.
Say, this
And maybe
can't
they don't want it.
possibly work. Yeah, this can't. Some of them really don't want it.
Well, and because they have a secondary gain that they're getting out of either their illness or the relationship or whatever it is that they're not letting go of.
Yeah. So then there's another one. She started out as a um, technical writer, and she discovered homeopathy, studied homeopathy, and is now a homeopath. And she didn't know that she could actually, and I said, look, homeopathy is energy medicine, because
Yes.
the number of molecules that are in a homeopathic remedy are too few in order to create a real effect. So what you're doing is you're changing the energy in the body. And she goes, yes, that's true. And I said, what if you could manipulate them to manipulate their energy fields to change something? So she had a grandson that came in and had a serious headache. And so she said, oh, let me try something. And she just did some things. And he goes, wow, it went away. Oh, it feels so much better. And she was as stunned as he was.
So you don't actually have to believe that you can do it, and you can still do it.
That's exactly right.
Wow. That's pretty mind-blowing. You just have the techniques. So you're teaching people these processes as well as working with others individually who aren't primed to be in the class?
Well, some of them are not sure. So, if you have a calling to help someone or even to help yourself, like you don't want to be stuck to the fate of whatever a doctor tells you,
Right.
and or that you want to really take understand the systems, energy systems in the body, because we have them. We've known about them for 100 years. A doctor in the 1930s was measuring the energy fields around embryos and around animals and noting certain things like around an embryo. So this doesn't make any physical sense whatsoever. But around the embryo it was salamander embryos and other embryos, and he was measuring the energy field around the embryo and saw that it was the same size and shape as the adult animal. So
Wow.
he then, this was a many years of study. So then he took the embryo and aligned it so it would have like a symmetrical thing where you'd see the two legs and the tail and the head. And he would mark the embryo where it was symmetrical, and then watch the embryo grow. And the place where it was marked, it turned out to be the spinal cord. So even a spherical egg had structure already. It had the energy information already. And that's how we all are. We grow into that energy field. So why do we grow into having 2 arms and 2 legs? It's not in the DNA. It is the energy field that we come into, right? And so it's almost like a creationist thing, right? It's almost like, oh, do you believe in evolution or creationism? So it's almost like, really, that imprint came from the other side. It got imprinted onto the embryo. The embryo embraces that spirit, and now it's growing into that shape. But we've had this evidence for a long, long, long time.
Yeah, like you said, some of this doesn't make sense. And
Yeah, the
heard you
field of the embryo should be like spherical around the embryo instead of the shape of the body.
Of the body. Wow. Okay. I remember you talking about something around aging, that we don't have DNA for aging, or what was that particular piece?
Okay, so there's
and maybe that's a topic for another show.
Yeah, it's a topic for another show for clearing out old pictures of aging, and it's something that we just covered in class, in this program. But if you have cancer, cancer in your DNA, you have kidney disease in your DNA, you have criminal behavior in your DNA, you have slavery pictures in your DNA. In other words, you're always so compliant with other people, and you're going, dang, well, I wish I wasn't like that. Like, why am I like that? Like, why do I do whatever other people tell me all the time, and I just don't have a choice? And So there's those kinds of things. There's also premature aging. And the premature aging really is erroneous information, because you look at two people in the same family, right? So they have pretty much the same genes, and one will age prematurely and the other not, and they have similar lifestyles. And and so you wonder what's going on. So one of them inherited that pattern of premature aging. And what I say is that you'll read the statistics. So the average lifespan in the United States is 78.3, and in Japan it's 83. We're 39th on the list, right, in terms of countries, which is kind of pathetic, since we spend 8,000 to 9,000 per capita on medical care, where the next country down is somewhere around 4,000. So it's like half. And yet we're not first in lifespan.
It's not wellness care.
Yeah, it's not
wellness care.
It is, exactly. It's sickness
not health
care.
It's sickness care, exactly.
And the other thing that's really interesting, I lived in Germany for 13 years. And during that time, if you had a little bit of a headache or a little bit of cough and somebody heard you, they'd go, "Oh, I know something really good for that." And then they would tell you the tea, or they'd tell you the herb, or they'd tell you the nutrient, and to go and have it. So everybody has a good idea of herbal energy medicine, right?
Right.
And they just don't. So they work with the wellness of the body. They work with natural remedies, and they tended to go away from medications, where here the average person in their 60s has like 17 prescriptions a year. Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, prescriptions for the side effects of your prescriptions. And
it's all for managing.
Yeah. So everything that you're talking about today is really exciting. I mean, the average Joe, the average Jill, anybody that has a living, breathing body can do this work. Can
take their future into their own hands.
So how do they do that? By connecting with you.
Right. So connecting with me, first let me just preface this all by saying that energy medicine is only one piece. Right. There's nutrition, exercise, sleep, all the things that you already learned about, but there's also relationships, career, expressing your creativity, your financial health. There's a whole plethora of things that we need to also consider, which is why.
So it's not a magic bullet.
It's not a magic bullet, but energy medicine can change the speed and the course which your life will take.
Yes.
Yeah. So you can get from a place that you didn't think you could get out of to being healed from it in a matter of weeks. I had one lady whose stage 4 cancer tumor shrank by 60% in 2 weeks. Yeah. Right. So, and they disappeared out of parts, she had 4 or 5 different places in her body that it had metastasized, and it disappeared out of 3 of them in those 2 weeks. So, so you can change the course of your life, the direction it's going to take with energy medicine, which is why, I firmly believe in not aging and not getting sick. And here I am paying for Medicare, and I don't use it.
Right.
So
that's what insurance is for. If you don't have it, then you need it. But if you have it, you don't need it, right?
I haven't used any medical insurance for going on a decade now.
Well, it is good for car accidents and such things. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, like you've said, there are healers out there that actually can heal broken limbs as well.
Mm-hmm. For me, I just heal them. They're more rapid, and they come out looking like they never were hurt in the first place.
That's beautiful.
So way people can get in touch with me is go to scientifichealer.com and /contact to write me a note, or go to /appointment, and you can see them up. It's all in the menuing at the top. And a place to look is a place to look and see what the program is about. It's a 2-year program. You can opt out after 1 year. And the 1 year is teaching all of the simple protocols for clearing DNA, mental blocks, simple energy hygiene, all of that. And that does a lot. That can keep you out of trouble. And then the second year is all about healing the different glands, organs, systems in the body. And that's where there's the biochemistry and how these organs and glands all interact, because it's not like, you have a liver here and it operates independently of the rest of the body. It doesn't.
No.
That's the best way to do it. I have a lot of smaller programs besides that. I have one that it's a 13-week set of recordings. You get one session with me when you purchase it, but it's a set of 13 recordings, and people that have bought it and just listened to the recordings also say it's changed their life. They got stuck in places. So the way listening to recording works, it's a quantum physics thing. It's as if you were there, that when you hear it for the first time, it's as if you were there listening to me live. And it is recorded in the carrier waves of my voice into the microphone. So there's a healing class, and there's also an 8-week class on the science of healing. And it goes through things, but in too rapid of a pace. People just could not keep up, which is why I stretched this out to a full year to learn the basics. Because people are now telling me, one of the students in the class told me, this is the perfect pace for me because I can have a job, I can still practice, I can practice on people, on myself. I can even, many of the students have gotten healing jobs, paying healing jobs in their first month. Because I teach you how to build packages, right? So they've gotten healing jobs, and even though they don't have the whole gamut of skills or the whole gamut of protocols, they are changing the lives of their clients, which is to me also very exciting to watch how just this program can now spread out to more. So this is part of the big picture, right? Yes. It's part of the big picture to get a set of competent healers that know the language, know the biochemistry, that can affect people, raise their frequency, raise their own frequency, and the people all around them. And so now we build all these centers all over the world where it's like, ripples in a pond. Each person can move out. Like I say that these are not, it's like gravity. You can use the protocol and you could teach it once you understand it, right? It's just like you went to school and learned physics, because I just don't believe that I own those things, because I've seen protocols that I thought up, and then I find other healers are doing the exact same thing, even with the same exact hand motion. So for me, it's like all coming from the divine. It's through me, not of me. Right?
Yes. Beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
So
that's how we're going to do it. Get energy healers and surgeons working together again, or energy healers working with the medical.
Right. And to just show how, my dad's also a case in point. He was, he's 87 now. He's going on 87 this month. But when he was 83, he had a stroke, and they usually say they can't survive when they're that old. And I said, don't count my dad out. His whole left side was limp, and he's up and walking and, fully there. And when he was telling them that I was healing him, the medical staff just sort of looked at me like, oh, like I was some sort of quack. And then I told them, did you take physics in college? They go, yes. And I said, how'd you do? Not very well. And I said, yeah, that's because you didn't have me as a professor. So I just joke with them. Okay,
Aw,
Gwen, we're
yes,
out of
thank you.
time, and it's
We
so
are.
wonderful that you got to accompany me on this and all your
Always an
wonderful
honor.
input. Yes. Thank you for listening to Scientific Healing, and for our wonderful guest host, Gwen Lepard. Let's you and I connect. Go to scientifichealer.com/energize me to discover more about a new, intimate, in-depth program designed to help you thrive as a healer or coach while building out your practice. Enrollment's open now. When you're ready to learn more, invite you into a conversation. I have reserved time for you on my calendar at scientifichealer.com/appointment. If you enjoyed this program, give it a thumbs up or a 5-star rating. Share it with your friends, and be sure to subscribe to my channel. This is Dr. Anastasia Chopelas. Until next time.